What is up, and welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast, which is brought to you by my helmet of choice, Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Head on over to simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com, check out all the models and options, and get yourself dialed in with one of the best helmets in the game. Dream Rides is the spot if you're looking for a shop to build, maintain, repair, or upgrade your Harley-Davidson. John Jessup is a great friend of mine and an even better guy to do business with. His shop in Stockton, California is a spot for in-house dyno tuning, parts, and bike sales. And if nothing else, head on over to teamdreamrides.com, which is offering 100 days, same as cash financing on all products. All you need is a job and a bank account. Don't forget to give John and the team a follow at DreamRidesJohn on Instagram. Lexan Moto is growing fast and looking to onboard new dealers in 2020. So whether you're a small independent shop or a 20,000 square foot mega store, Lexan has a partnership that will work for you. With awesome new gear and more on the way, Lexan offers very competitive dealer margins, fast shipping, and great customer service. Email them at sales@lexanmotorcycle.com and be sure to check out them on Facebook at Lexan Moto USA and Instagram at Lexan Moto. Don't forget to use Fast Life at checkout and save yourself 15% off your entire order. Paint Huffer Metal Flake is the flake of choice by many, if not all, top painters in the world. Check out painthuffer.com to see the vast amount of color options and many other products to help you in the custom paint process. And don't forget to use Fast Life 12 at checkout. Save yourself 10% off. Follow Paint Huffer Metal Flake on Instagram and stay up to date, especially with the new flake branded with us, the Fast Life Garage Champagne Daddy. We came up with that name from Champagne Poppy, so kind of play on words there. But anyway, check them out. It's coming out this week, I believe. Really excited for that. Go to painthuffer.com if you want to get yourself a jar of that and add it to your palette of colors for custom painting. So check it out for sure. It's 2020, it's winter, and it's time to upgrade that bike with one of the best mods you can do, a ThunderMax computer upgrade. Its ability to auto-tune to your bike's upgrades and riding conditions without the need of a dyno make it, in my opinion, a great and even superior product. Do you want to install your own cam, big bore kit, or hell, anything, exhaust? All you need is a ThunderMax. You don't need a dyno tuner. It's really easy. Check it out. You can also check out their ECM applications and many other products to give your Harley-Davidson some new life over at shoptmax.com and follow ThunderMax EFI on Instagram. And that's the one to go with, guys. I'm telling you. You guys already know Big Bear Performance is the go-to for high-quality performance products for your FXR Dyna, Softail, and performance bagger needs. Along with being the industry leader in Öhlins suspension sales, service, and tuning, check it out, bigbearperformance.com. You can also give Kevin a call at 909-479-7788 for sure. BoostedBrad.com is a great place to spend that tax return, or any paycheck you get for that matter. From his destroyer bar and riser setup, bagger mid controls to his bear trap pegs, Brad has a product for any budget. Check out all the products and badass apparel at boostedbrad.com. And don't forget to use Fast Life at checkout to save yourself 5%. And give Brad a follow on Instagram at boostedbrad. And on the next podcast, we will be giving away a Boosted Brad care package to one lucky person from our Patreon. If you haven't heard about our Patreon, don't know what kind of rock you've been sleeping under, but it is one of the ways to help support this podcast with, supporting us by donating $1, or $2, or $10, or if you're a bad motherfucker like Aaron Coit, $50 a month. Anyway, all that stuff helps. It helps us go travel. It helps us helped us build the studio. It's helping us put all the things that we're doing on the table here with this podcast. So if you want to check that out, go to our website, fastlifegarage.com. On the front page, there is a link to our Patreon. And realistically, all you got to do is $1 a month, and that helps us out. It ends up being $12 a year, and it goes a long way with all of you guys that listen to this podcast. And we've been moving forward with getting more and more sponsors to donate products and donate things, shirts, hats, whatever, to give away to you guys. So check it out. It's like I said, it's one of our lifelines of keeping this podcast growing and moving. So check it all out for sure. This podcast is with a really, really great friend of mine. He, if you ever listen to the podcast I did about myself, which was kind of weird, but I just kind of talked about my past growing up in this motorcycle industry. And this guy was one of the biggest helps of my career getting off the ground, from, supporting me, backing me financially, helping me start my first big shop. He's always been a great friend and someone I've always looked to for advice in life. He's a military guy. He did a couple years in the military. I don't want to start naming shit off because I'm not very knowledgeable in those fields, but he did a couple years, Iraq, Afghanistan, and then he moved into the contract arena, and he's been doing that for, I believe, 13 years now. He's worked with companies like Blackwater, Triple Canopy, and all those other fucking things that you hear on things like Born Supremacy and shit. You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes, but he's a great friend, more humble. You couldn't ask for a more humble guy in the life he's lived overseas, here, and just a great dude. And I could go on all day talking about him, but this podcast is really just us talking about some of the experiences he had over there. So it's not really a lot of motorcycle stuff, but I really, really hope you guys enjoy this kind of deviation off of our normal path that we do on this podcast, and hopefully it gets a good response, because I'd like to do more podcasts and put more out each week. And sometimes talking about things that are different than motorcycles might be the way to kind of grow that. That way it's not super repetitive as far as the conversation is concerned. But anyway, here he is, Brandon Moore, B Moore. Also, I think he was a little bit sick on this podcast. So if you hear it in his voice, he was kind of phlegmy a little bit. He kept bringing it up to me. But anyway, here we go. I'm shutting up now. Here we are, Brandon Moore.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Maybe a little more vodka in there.
I just let you lead, man. I'm just talk.
Yeah, for sure.
This shit ain't live, is it?
It's not live, but it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure it's all good. Yeah. All right. B-Mo. That's like equivalent of me saying, hey, brother. Bruh.
It's all good.
You know what's crazy? You're the first black guy I've had on the podcast.
That's a shame, man.
Considering like my past and
Right.
where I come from and shit, it's like,
Yeah, all the brothers you know, that's crazy. I'm shocked. We got to change that. Definitely.
No, but I've talked about you plenty of times because, you're all the stuff that you've been a part of my life and growth of the business since, we did that bike back in, what was it, 09?
09, yeah. 08,
So-
09.
I think it's 10 years we've been boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy
Sounds
anniversary.
about right. Yes, sir.
But yeah, it's crazy, like thinking back because, doing that bike and where we were at doing those sport bikes way back in the day compared to now. Like, I mean, you've kind of been disconnected from the bike world for quite a while, but, still in your blood, ain't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, just responsibilities, man. Kids and career and trying to make money.
Yeah,
And, just the scene changing. The scene changed overnight, it seemed like.
it did.
So we went from, wearing Next Unlimited and full tracksuits to Harley Down and Skulls overnight. So,
For sure.
trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's a tough keeping up with that shit. But so, like, when because you're a military guy.
Right,
And so when you kind of, but you grew up in a military household as well, though.
right.
Like, so your parents were both.
Yeah, both of my parents are Air Force.
So, and you got to travel a lot as a young lad.
Yeah.
So that's something we've been talking about lately is when you're from the same area, you've never left or never lived anywhere else, like how, like that's something that everybody should experience in a sense. That way they can have the ability to disconnect from
your perspective on everything is different. Like I try to explain people now, where I'm at contracting now, I'm in East Africa, the Horn of Africa, and driving past people living in the field, you come home and somebody complaining about, the car not having gas or them not having the newest Jordans or anything.
newest iPhone that I was just looking at.
Yeah, exactly. The iPhone 11, 11 Plus or whatever that $40,000 phone is you talking about. But just perspective, man, and just being thankful for what you have, it really changes getting out of the country and seeing how blessed we really are. So I've been seeing that for a long time. So
I remember when we first met, man, you used to tell me stories about like being like when you were actually enlisted and doing a tour basically
Right.
of just villages and locals being you went straight to Afghanistan or Iraq first?
my first was in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
So, but 2005, 2006. So Iraq was a different world, man. And walking those streets and seeing people, just thankful for everything, man. Here we're ungrateful for having an Xbox 360 and not having an Xbox One there. They're thankful for having clean water, having Coke, or having a Fanta, having whatever, man. So it's just like I said, my perspective has been changed from an early age, man. Just seeing people that really don't have anything. Even the poor, where we're from, are still wealthy when it comes to the other side of the world, and just not even just the Middle East, just the world, period, man. We just don't know how good we have it.
Oh, for sure. I think that some areas of this culture of here understand it, and that's why you don't see them complaining that much. But it depends also. We were kind of talking about this before we turned these mics on, but it just seems so disconnected from perspectives of things. Some people grow up so privileged, and they get wrapped up on things like climates and this, and they want to fucking, just
Right.
go down rabbit holes of something they believe in because they really don't know who they are as people.
Right.
So instead of like going out and just seeing the world or seeing what they can see within reach and being humbled by the world, basically,
Right.
they I feel like people just get latched onto these things to help them form an identity of who they are.
I mean, it don't even have to be the world, man. I got some partners I used to ride with in Fort Worth that never left Texas.
Yeah.
How can you form your opinion on anything if the only opinions you have are of your 100-mile diameter life? So I mean, even for you've gotten around plenty. California, West Coast, East Coast, North, South. You've been around, so you can see, and mingle with people from different perspectives, different walk of life, different ages, different, ethnicities, different everything, and you kind of get a good measure of how people are in different areas and different regions. So a lot of people don't have that experience. So all they know is what grew up in their backyard.
Yeah, and one thing we were talking to about our daughters and shit, because they're kind of similar in age, but my daughter has a tendency to repost things on social media or like on Facebook that's political and things like that. And I always want to tell her, like, hey, you just don't really know what's going on here, and all you're doing is sharing more propaganda that's really not there to do anything more than just separate everything.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of tough raising kids these days. You just had a nice little boy there,
right?
Which I was proud of you because, man, you're 2 and done, right? Got you a boy and a girl.
10 months, man. I was almost out of there.
Yeah,
so 15 and 10 months. So it's a nice little break.
But you get both though. Like
Absolutely.
To me, it's like with a son and a daughter, man. Like that's a luck. Like Brad's he just had another kid, but he had another girl. So he's got.
It's that player's curse.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But no, the perspective, man, like that shit changes, and when you start to travel some, and you, especially like if you go in the military, because we had a guy on this podcast that's from Kentucky. He goes by Justin Hang 'em High.
Right.
Redneckest dude you could ever think of, right? Cool as shit, but super, like, black people did not exist to him until he hit the military, and
you have a choice.
Yeah, it's kind of like American History X.
They force you to embrace other cultures and other religions, other everything, man. Military, man, for most people, I grew up in a military family, so it wasn't different for me. But for most people, man, like that's your first dose of reality. That's your first time getting outside of your comfort zone. So being tossed into a company or a squad or a flight, whatever, depending on your branch, whatever it is, man, being tossed into a totally different mix of
people,
cultures and personalities and practices and feelings, man, you gotta you gotta embrace somebody else's culture. You gotta listen to some Tupac. You gotta listen to some, some 9 Inch Nails or some Limp Bizkit. Like you gotta either you figure it out and you embrace some other cultures, you get beat up. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's just what it is.
Do you think like it would be good if like everybody did like mandatory service, even if it was something not necessarily tours, but like some type of service that's
I
like that?
I honestly do. Like I feel like everybody needs to get out of the United States because they would appreciate how good we actually have it in the United States. Like a lot of people that form opinions on our culture, on our policies, on our practices have never been anywhere else, so they don't know anything. They don't understand, the Second Amendment or any amendment for that matter, or understand why stuff is so important to us because they've never experienced a place where you don't have those liberties. Like it's been some places like contracting. I actually spent 6 months in South Africa. That was the most awkward 6 months of my life because people don't understand that South Africa is about as racist as they come. Like they let you know out. I mean, at the airport, like we don't like you here. Mm-hmm. So having to experience that in situations like that when I come home, it's a lot of stuff that doesn't really affect me or impact me like it would had I not experienced that because I've been there and done that.
So what was it? I mean, I've heard crazy stories about South Africa as far as like just it's ruthless down there, right?
Man, I can't say all of Africa is ruthless, but South Africa when I was there was an awakening time for them. So it was a point in time where the people that should have had were trying to take back what they should have had. Mm-hmm. So you had a lot of people that were still hesitant to give back what wasn't really there. So to simplify it, somebody gave you a store, right? Mm-hmm. on land. You never owned this land, you never owned a store, somebody just gave it to you. Well, the rightful owners from that land and that store finally came home and said, "Hey, this is mine. I got the paperwork for this. The country signed my paperwork. This is actually mine." Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't want to give me my land because this is yours. You've been here. Yeah. Well, it got to the point where the people that were waiting to take back what was officially theirs.
Is it like what was taking place now in China with, being under British rule for 100 years, and then, in Hong Kong actually, I think is what it was.
Hong Kong is a totally different monster, in my opinion, man. Like Hong Kong is the fact of that's democracy at its best. That's a country or a place that wants to be able to form their own opinions. And mind you, I'm not an expert on Chinese diplomacy, but the Hong Kong situation to me feels like a country or a city or a township, whatever you want to call it, that wants to be able to dictate how Hong Kong citizens live, but their big brother or China, does not want to allow them to decide for themselves how they want to live. Mm-hmm. So what's crazy is you see on the news, Hong Kong citizens are actually using American flags to show their defiance and their argument towards their own dictatorship because they want to be able to decide for themselves. They want democracy. They want to be able to choose how they live and how their children live. So, I mean, for everything that's wrong with the United States, we are doing some things right. And, like I said, we're still a beacon for the world regardless of our problems and, how fucked up some of our things are. Am I allowed to say that? Mm-hmm. My bad.
Yeah, but I say fucked up shit too.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy, man. Like I got a text, man. I wish you had the vlog. I was at a bar in where I'm at now in Djibouti, Africa, and a French guy, a French Djiboutian, language barrier. We couldn't talk, but he took my phone and basically went through Google Translate and put America is the beacon for the world. And that hit home because, with all of our problems, our racism, our political issues, our dramas, our leaders being crazy as hell, we still have the ideal life and freedoms that 90% of the world wishes that they had. So I just wish, as I always tell you, man, I wish more people would appreciate what they have instead of what they don't have. You know what I'm saying? Everything would be a lot better.
Well, like you listen to Joe Rogan shit sometimes, but you know how he's talking about like we don't really have enough like struggles in life. I mean, we can talk about struggles. I mean, we were just talking about that before this. We got things that we deal with but literal struggles of survival is something that we don't really like encounter.
No, we're spoiled.
Yeah, so like I think we end up having, naturally, we end up being more bitch made in some sense.
Absolutely.
To things that are not as important.
Absolutely.
So
let the power go out for 2 days in the United States and see what happens. 2 days, not even in 1 day. 2 days. 2 days and see what happens, man. When you know how ready you are when the lights go out.
Yeah,
so we're just spoiled, man. That's the bottom line. We're spoiled.
What so how was it like that first time going, like that culture shock? Because like I said, you traveled in the United States. Because I know you lived. Did you start off in like Newport News area?
No, so I was born in Illinois. So I was born in Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. Both of my parents were Air Force, and then from there moved to Newport News, Virginia. Did most of my upbringing in Bad News. Shout out Bad News. But grew up between Newport News and Inglewood, Los Angeles, where my father was stationed. From there, moved to Hawaii. From Hawaii, moved to Georgia. From Georgia to Cali back to Virginia, where I finished high school and went to college before going to the Army. But
how was that traveling and like creating a?
Man, I learned how to make friends quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of being a military brat, man. You never, I used to envy, cats from Texas, man, because like when we got to California, I played on an all-star football team. And we came out to Las Vegas to play a team from Texas. I don't know. I'm not going. It was a long time ago. I don't remember what city where they were from, but these cats had been playing football since they were like 6 years old, and you could tell by the chemistry and just they knew each other. They grew up with each other, and I kind of envied that because with the military community, every couple of years we're moving, so we got a different family, different group of friends, a different house, a different everything. So, having to uproot and move to a different place, a different environment, different culture. I kind of say it helped make me into the person I am because I feel like I'm able to adapt to a lot of different environments, but I do envy places like here. Like you grew up in Duncanville. I'm sure you ball with the same cats since A-League until high school. Yeah. So y'all got that chemistry. Y'all all have those relationships. That's family.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It makes for me it worked out for me. But for a lot of people, it could change an introvert into an extrovert or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? It could back you into a door if you move into a place where, they aren't as receptive as they should be. Yeah. And especially today with social media, these kids are brutal. So yeah, it's no telling.
Well, I would think that like most things that you have to do in your high school and upbringing in school, but being able to travel like that and meet people and then have the thing like social media come along once we all got out of high school and reconnect. And when you start getting your later 20s and 30s and you can afford to travel, now you got people all over the country, just like we do with social media now, that you can go see and meet and do shit with and like rekindle and stuff and have a reason to go back to Vegas or back to Inglewood or back to anywhere,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I wish, no, actually I don't. I'm glad we didn't have social media, that when we came up, because it probably would have been a lot of, just like now, man, a lot of bad things being put out there that shouldn't have been put out there. But, we got to live and learn. These kids these days aren't getting to live and learn. They're living, but they're getting punished for that same living.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, social media is a blessing and a curse. There's a lot of folks out there that I wish I could connect with. From back in the day. That had an impact on my life. But yeah, man, it's just different. It's a different world.
Yeah, it's different. It's like I said, like today I went to Strokers today for a little bit, and I don't really do much stuff I do stuff around here bike wise,
right?
But with my small group, like I try to stay, because I'm trying to find out how to put this. Like social media and the vast people that we connect with all the time is so big. Sometimes that the getaway is my core group of friends here that I hang out with.
Your safe space.
So when we went to Strokers today, we were just kind of hanging out, and it's packed, great weather today,
right?
And like second to none, like a lot of the people that I've known for 10, 12 years.
Shout out second to none.
And in the bike club world and just the bike world, they're all there like, dude, where you been? It was cool seeing them, but it's also like, being a painter too. I honestly don't like seeing people all the time because they're like, man, I need to look at this fender real quick. I'm like, man, I don't do that shit no more. Sorry. Oh, you too good now? So you got a belly now? You eating good too,
huh? Eating real good.
But no, they it is cool and shit. But that's kind of been the hard part is like, because I do love to ride bikes. Going back and being around certain places, because I grew up like pandering to these guys as well.
Right, you was out there.
I was out there trying to get my name out there.
Right.
And now that I've been able to capitalize off that, I want to come back out and hang out with these same guys that I used to try to sell paintwork to.
Right.
But still had lots of badass stories of hanging out and riding bikes and shit.
Right.
And I just but I don't want to do work for you. I just want to hang out and shit.
We're not that friendly no more.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean you progress, man. That's life in general. You grow, you elevate. Some people aren't meant to hang around during the next chapters of our lives. So I mean that's just where you at. You progressing. You better than yourself, better than your family. That's what it's supposed to happen.
For sure. So what when you were what's some crazy shit like in Iraq when your first time being there? Like you used to tell me some crazy stories and stuff, but like the culture shock's got to be the one
to settle it to one, pick one thing. I'd say, man, dismounted foot patrol. Had got warned. We had been warned about eating the flatbread, like pita bread.
Mm-hmm.
And every little corner they have little shops, so like little bodegas. If you're from up north, from New York, a little bodega. Imagine a little 7-Eleven except for in Iraq. So ain't no signs. You just know it's a little shop. They got hot sodas, they got tea, they got candy, they got all the little stuff that people need. So we had been warned about these little corners like, yo, don't eat the don't eat the flatbread.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sanitary. You shouldn't eat it. It's not good for you. Long story short, man, we get a brand new LT in straight out of West Point. I'm not gonna put names out there because I'm pretty sure he's probably somewhere doing his thing, but he gets off the plane, we warn him like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're in this sector. Do not eat out of the local market. We're not allowed to eat the local food.
Mm-hmm.
Got MREs, bring something that you want to eat. Fast tracking, we're on the same patrol. LT comes back to the convoy with about 6 imagine like small little personal pan pizzas.
Yeah.
Without the sauce or the cheese or the pepperoni. Just the bread. Flat bread. So we're like, where you get that bread from, LT? She's like, oh, right over here at the little corner store. So we're like, all right, bet. So we walk them to the back, and you got 3 little old ladies with no shoes on, no water, no Dove antibacterial, just smashing this
kneading the bread or whatever.
Yeah, just smashing this flour with their feet, making the flatbread, and then throwing it into a fire and serving it out to the people. Now, yeah, you could say that
The fire's
the
killing
fire killed the bacteria, but we're not used to that. Our
Yeah.
bodies are used to that.
Yeah.
So seeing him throw up for 2 days was pretty epic. He definitely listened to his lower enlisted soldiers going forward, and I'm pretty sure he's having a good career. But
So, like or not the funny thing, but like the crazy thing is like these jobs that you had to do, these patrols. Like,
Right.
what was the like your knowledge of the purpose of it?
so a lot of our knowledge was like weapon caches during that time. Like you got a lot of locals that will, and I'm trying to be as PC as possible without having people trying to call me and do any bullshit. But like you got a lot of, just like me, if somebody was to invade here, they want to talk to me. You got some families and some groups that have been known to acquire a lot of weapons, a lot of ammunition, a lot of firepower.
Mm-hmm.
So we're told about these people during different interrogations. So they'll say, hey, in Dallas, we got, in this neighborhood, you got a house with roses on the front door that, they used to buy up all the ammunition that anybody had in the town.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out about the information. We want to go collect that from them because we don't know who they're supporting.
Yeah.
So a lot of our patrols were basically following up on information that we received from good snitches, long story short. So we would be following up on intel from guys that provide us information on who could cause harm to U.S. forces. So, but a lot of these places, man, you would find, locals that just have enough to protect them and theirs.
Yeah.
A lot of those places would let go. But then you get into some neighborhoods that you could tell that they didn't want you there. And a lot of those places, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
They would have millions of dollars of, U.S. cash and a whole bunch of stuff that they weren't supposed to have. And when we come into town, they know that we're going to take it. So, of course, they try to push back, and, it's a bad day for them.
You're like Debo.
Pretty much, yeah. Debo without.
But it was really just to try to cut off supply lines, basically. I guess you would say, huh?
More so, I want to say supply lines. They still have the supply lines, but basically, man, like Iraq was a different monster, dog. Like, imagine like the police going door to door here in the States. Like, the locals know the streets, they know the alleys, they know the back doors, they know everything. So they have the unfair advantage.
Yeah.
So there, we're getting told about people that we should be checking on when a lot of the people shouldn't have been checked on. But excuse me, similar to like the the little bullshit ass red flag laws that are coming out now in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
If I go down, if I don't like you, right? I ask you to pay my bike. You tell me, hey. I ask you to say, hey, man, I want you to pay my bike for $200. You say, yo, I can't pay your bike for $200. It got to be for whatever you're going to charge me. I'm like, no, I ain't really feeling that. I want you to pay it for $200. You say, you know what, fuck off.
Yeah.
So then I go and say, hey, I go to the government's door. I say, hey, man, Jay's got some bombs over in this shit. Y'all need to go get them.
Yeah. Okay. So
you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. And a lot of the intel that they were sending U.S. troops out to get on was fake, but
you had to check it still.
Had to check it. You can't put U.S. assets at risk.
Yeah.
So a lot of good brothers, passed. A lot of.
See, that's what I think I've told you this before, because when I met you, I really envied, because when I got out of high school it was 2001. I literally graduated high school, and then 3 months later 9/11 happened. Right. And so there was a part of me, I had no desire to go to the military because I also had a kid and I was married.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes, I was married right out of high school. It's fucking stupid. But then as soon as like that settling in of like having freedom from not having school settled in, I'm like, man, like I wanted to have a purpose to do something every day other than just a job that I didn't know if it was something I wanted to do.
Right.
So I immediately started to regret not even considering going to the military.
Right.
But then at the same time, I was like, well, my only connection to the military was through media and culture, like movies and things like that. And so what scared knowing me, because I was very uncoachable as a basketball player, that like I would be that dude. You seen that little video on Facebook where that dude is like in a boat with his uncle, and his uncle, they're like going, and he sees he keeps looking at him like, hey, I feel like I would be that dude. Like, oh, so you want me to walk down that alley?
Right.
Why? What's down there?
Right. And you can't do that as a soldier.
Yeah, it's like, so there's
Marine, airman,
possibly a car bomb. There's possibly an ambush.
Right.
Bush. Can we throw a rock down there first? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would be too. I couldn't. I wouldn't be.
And you know what? That's the thing as a soldier, as a Marine, as an airman, as a coastie, as any U.S. service member. Like a lot of the calls that you make, a lot of things that you do, you're not doing it because you want to. You're doing it because you want to see your brother go home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're doing it because of the camaraderie. And I mean, it's the same.
Is that
thing.
camaraderie real? I mean, I have camaraderie with things for sure. Like even when it comes to like when 9/11 happened, there was this like American camaraderie that took place. But does it become more like
it's not
deeper?
the same, dog. Like I got brothers that even you, I consider you my brother. But I got dudes that if they call me right now and said they were hit, I need a place to lay low. Here's what I did. Blah blah splee. It's no question. It's a difference when you literally have nothing out there, dog. Like a lot of soldiers can relate. A lot of combat arms soldiers can relate. You don't have anything out there but your brothers. Like you're waking up, sleeping in dirt. You have no connection to the outside world. Well, now they do. They're spoiled. But you literally, all you have is your brothers. So the only thing you want is to make sure that you and your brothers go home at the end of this rotation, at the end of this deployment, and that's what it all amounts to. Nothing else matters. Nothing, no football scores, no children, no family. All it is your brothers, because that's all you got.
Yeah.
That's all that you know. Like if one guy isn't ready, if one guy isn't there, you all might not go home. So it becomes a let me make sure I got to make sure Jace is good, so that Jace makes sure I'm good. Yeah. And that's what it amounts to.
Yeah, like I was saying, like it for sure. There's a camaraderie there that takes place that's for sure something that like guys like myself who've never been there. Like I could say I've got our camaraderie or other people. I've done things riding across country, but they're still not like if me and you rode across country, but it was a zombie apocalypse. That'd be a different. We're doing this for survival.
It's a difference when your life is on the line, man. Like when somebody, and it's not necessarily them taking a bullet for you, but when somebody is putting it all on the line for you, it changes how you feel about that person, man. And like I got brothers, man. We tell each other we love them, etc. Man, it's that deep. It's a matter of they didn't give up on me when they could have.
Yeah, for sure. I have that now.
Thing. Right.
I mean, I would say that about you. Like, you when we met, you were in a much better financial place in life than I was.
Right.
And you helped catapult me to the next level at that time. So like you just said a phrase that was like perfectly on point, but now at my older age, I'm way more sentimental to all those relationships I've had growing up, friends and family and even chicks and stuff like that I've been with. It's like, fuck, man, like
absolutely.
All the good and the bad has created a place I'm starting to really fucking love being in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Progression. That's what's supposed to happen.
But yeah, I can totally get that, and that's why I was wondering if it is like once you go through boot camp and like you're stripped of all these things that you have to like, become this person or become this, like you're forced to, know these people and
I don't even think it's the boot camp, or I think it's something, they have what's that word, trial by combat or whatever that fake ass saying, like what's that Game of Thrones and all that shit. Made it seem Hollywood, but it's something about putting yourself before another brother. Like it at that point, man. Like especially with combat arms, infantry, artillery, special forces, any combat arms. Y'all gotta forgive me. I'm on the Ciroc, so please forgive me if I left a lot of people out. But any job where you're literally, that it's a high chance that you're not gonna go home.
Yeah.
You're literally putting your hands in your life in the hands of another brother or sister for some
Areas.
different areas. But that vulnerability and that trust and you making it out of that situation, is where those type of situations come from. But it's
that's more where the camaraderie starts to build
absolutely.
more roots.
I can't say once some rounds start flying, man. I think once you really know that those wheels up and you're headed down range and that, hey, this might be the last plane you get off of. Like when you get off of this plane, that's it. Comfort is over with. And, just having to deal with that and go through not having anything with guys and, sleeping in the dirt and eating MREs and, the combat and dealing with people and, and losing people, man. That's the biggest thing, man. And I'm not gonna put names out there out of respect for their families, but just losing somebody, man, and knowing that you were chosen for whatever reason to continue on, and that person wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is an honor in itself, and you kind of change your lifestyle up because like a lot of stuff doesn't matter to me. Like I don't get mad out of a lot of stuff because I know I shouldn't be here anymore. I could have been in that seat, or I could have been in that spot on that plane, or I could have been, on that spot on that patrol, or whatever reason, man. That.
Do you think all that kind of stuff would like really fuck with your head over the time?
Oh, it does.
And that might, I'm talking out of context here because obviously this is a motorcycle podcast and we're talking about some stuff that I think is
about some deep shit. It's cool.
Yeah, this deep stuff that I think is super fascinating. And sorry that your life of risk and reward here is fascinating to someone like me.
But military and the motorcycle world goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like that was the motorcycle community was a release for a lot of military members when they came back, starting Vietnam. So it's all. That's where a lot of these clubs came from, even before Vietnam. Yeah. So that's where a lot of this motorcycle culture came from. So it's hand in hand, man. Like the brotherhood. That's where it comes from. Loving your brother, treating them like their family. Having each other's back. That's where it comes from.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely like that, and I guess that's why like. Maybe for a lot of us that do end up getting into the bike world and bike scene, whether it's club related or not, we start to get that understanding of, because the bike world is the only other world where, other than military, is where you'll find yourself hanging out with people that you never would have chose to hang out with.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a racial thing or a, nerd versus jock or whatever the case may be. Next thing you know, you got this thing.
You have a choice.
That all of a sudden, it's like, dude's cool as shit. You
Absolutely.
Know what I'm saying?
We're here for these two wheels. That's what we're here for. And that's the beauty of the motorcycle world, man, is that we're all equal when we're on those sleds, on whatever we're on that highway. Those engines are revving, those mufflers are harmonic, man. It's a beautiful thing. I always tell you that. I miss that. Being gone so much, I miss that. Being on the road with either one or more partners, man, and it's that point in time when you're on the highway that everybody's humming, and it's harmonic, and everybody sounds the same, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and I think that's why, a lot of military members buy Harley Davidsons or motorcycles in general. It's the reason why there's Harley Davidson little pop-up shops on almost every base around the world. It's because that motorcycle and that freedom and that that camaraderie and that brotherhood is a part of the culture it's a part of the reason why, you know, we everything goes together, man, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's also like when you're riding bikes, you kind of feel like you're separating yourself from the normal populace and how they interact with life every day. So you're literally like usually one of 40 cars, 20 cars at a time. You know what I mean? Going down the road. So you're much different. And then when you get an open road and you're going place, it is feeling like real freedom. Like it's kind of it's super strange because it's such an easy word to say, right? Freedom. Oh, fuck yeah.
Right.
You know, America, you know, but when you're
but a lot of people don't get to say freedom. You know what I'm
true,
saying?
true. So, but like when you're jumping on the highway and going far and stuff, it's like you just like this country's big, and you're like, you know, we started this conversation talking about how like just being able to travel,
Absolutely.
and then like you said, you've been in all these different parts of the world where, you know, they've never got to that point to consider it because it's been about survival and just much other things, you know.
Yes, sir.
Apparently they can still fuck because there's kids everywhere, right?
Yeah,
so at least you have that.
Going on. Yes. Yeah, fucking is definitely allowed universally.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much money you make. There's always a hole.
For sure.
And something to go in it.
Yes,
so
sir.
how did it go from like, so you were in Iraq for how long?
Most of our deployments at that time were from 12 to 15 months. So I went from 2 12 to 15 month deployments to a 6 month in Afghanistan till I was getting out and starting contracting. So my first contracting gig, thankfully, I was and how I don't know, but I was offered a job with Blackwater USA or Blackwater Aviation, which, in my opinion, was the premier military contractor out there, and that's where I got my beginnings. So that's why I was able to ball out with you when when we met. But yeah, man, I'm thankful for my route and my lineage when it comes from, and being able to go from the military directly to a company that I probably should not have been working for.
Yeah. And how old were you when you did that?
So when I first started with Blackwater, what was that? 23?
Damn.
23, and yeah, I got in on a formality, man. At that time, they were doing a lot of training in Afghanistan and didn't really have the bodies to sign the contract. So I got in on a formality, and man, thankfully when I was there, was able to get underneath some real good, some Rangers, some SEALs, man, some guys that really were about that life and knew what they were doing, and took me under the wings and taught me what I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to have already known in order to train these local Afghans.
So the first time you went to Afghanistan, it was at military. So
As military, yeah, I was
so
there.
So how was the culture shock different from Iraq to Afghanistan? Because Afghanistan is not as much of a towns; they're more villages, right?
No, Iraqi people are like, well, I can't even say that. So Iraq has an infrastructure and a government. Well, they had an infrastructure and the government and everything that Americans had, but it was a Muslim backing.
Yeah.
So I'm probably fucking up a lot of key words here, but Iraq was a lot more civilized than Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a wild, wild west. Like Afghanistan, you got people that are still happy to be, farming poppy and letting the Taliban give them $100 a month. Like there are survivors out there. Iraq, they actually had I can't even say they had a democracy. They actually had a government. They had public works. They had everything that we have in the United States, just not as much of it.
Yeah.
So the culture shock was Iraq, the people actually knew what they were losing. Afghanistan, they didn't. So Afghanistan, we were literally trying to give people democracy that didn't know what democracy was.
Yeah.
They didn't care. As long as they can buy some Coca-Cola and Fanta, they didn't care who
So it
was
was
giving
kind of
them
like
money.
settlers trying to show Indians they're not savages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what it was. And Iraq was just a raw deal any way you look at it, man. Like, you know, I kind of tell people all the time, man. Like, if Iraq was to happen here, if our government was to be shut down, and somebody was to, you know, come in here trying to force their will on us, we would do the exact same thing. And it is, but it isn't the same as it was there. Like there, you know, you had a lot of people that were thrown into chaos that didn't ask to be thrown into chaos, so they were just surviving. But that's what we do as Americans. That's the one thing that we know how to do is fight.
Yeah.
So we may not know science, we may not know trigonometry, but we know how to fight. That's our shit. So that's what we do. But I don't know, man. It's just, it's just.
I'm super
different
quiet
over
because
here.
this is interesting as fuck to me. So
Yeah, man. It's
now so you went to like because I remember you used to send me pictures, man. It was like it was humbling as itself because you're old. I don't know. You got so many Facebooks over the time. I guess you get chick problems going up. But anyway, like you used to have like you would post these pictures on Facebook from like when you would be in the helicopter. You know, you used to do the gunning thing,
right.
and you would show these villages that you would fly over and these kids that you would see.
Man.
And that was Afghanistan, right?
That was Afghanistan. Yeah. When I started doing the photo, I was only in Iraq as a contract for about 2 weeks, and I went to Afghanistan working for Blackwater or Presidential Airways. And when I got there, man, it was like, you know, what was my daughter? My daughter was born in 2005, so she was 6 or 7 when I started contracting. And like, you got local kids that would be super ecstatic over a soccer ball being tossed out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would think this soccer ball was like a Xbox 70. Like, it was just the freshest thing ever, like some Jordans or whatever. And they would get that soccer ball, man, and you could see from 200 feet off the deck that was the best thing that they're ever going to receive in their life. And then you go home and you got a 6 or 7-year-old that you give a Teletubby to, and they're like, what is this? I didn't want a Teletubby. I wanted the Teletubby 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've been giving kids, a bottle of water and they're super thankful, but then, our own family members are unappreciative of everything. It just, like I said, man, like we talked about earlier, it just brings things into perspective. So
yeah, and that's what I was kind of wondering, because I've heard the concept before, and I know right now on social media, a lot of everybody's doing this whole draft. They've been making it, it's like a thing, right? They were signed, and I don't even know much about it, but I know that the Trump strike thing happened, and then all of a sudden you start seeing these memes talking about they ain't drafting me because I'm overweight, blah blah blah.
Right.
But I mean, it's if somebody could have had some kind of civil service that they had to do, maybe it would bring people together. You put a bunch of white dudes in the hood, put a bunch of black dudes in the fucking white neighborhoods,
right.
or different parts of you take dudes from inner cities and you put them in Wyoming to go do some ranching, right? As a public service for their understanding of our culture and difference. And then you take those dudes and you put them down here,
right.
and just perspective changes.
Absolutely.
And you realize that, okay, like, yeah, I mean, get me on this. I'm fortunate, right? I think about it because I grew up in more or less a inner city suburb, right? So things.
You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice. Like, we had country redneck dudes that went to our school, but we made fun of them because they were the minority in my school.
And you also had the dope boys that were trying to put you up on game.
Yeah, and so like for me, the simplistic thing was like basketball.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about the 90s, man. Basketball was the shit. You had Jordan, you had Penny Hardaway, you had all these fucking superstar athletes, and basketball was like me. I wasn't a big kid, so like football wasn't my shit. Like I'll
Right.
get fucking murdered out there. Now I'll fuck somebody up, but
Right.
then I was skinny, and actually up
you
until
weren't-
high
you
school
weren't
I
ready.
was pretty tall. Like I grew in like 7th grade, and I was like 5'9",
Right.
and then stopped. So
It'd be like that.
and then everybody else went to like 6'1", 6'2", and then
it'd
I
be
just
like that sometimes.
But yeah, basketball became a thing. It's like next thing you know, like I'm on an AAU team traveling to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hanging out with dudes that like I live in the inner city suburbs, meaning that it's still pretty legit.
Right.
But then I'm also now on a bus with kids that like live in a fucking hood,
Yeah, in the projects.
and
yeah.
we're all cool.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. It's like being forced to be around different people that are, it opens your mind to who they are.
Absolutely. It's like this motorcycle shit.
Exactly.
That's why the motorcycle community is beautiful. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the contract thing, did you know that you wanted to get out of like another tour?
Hell no, man. When I first got out of the military, I told myself I was never going back to the Middle East. And then I got a job offer. I was like, oh, I'll consider go back to the Middle East for that. And like I said, money is a root to all evil, man. And coming from where I'm from, and I've never been poor. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have been, but I have been.
You wanted more?
Just able to have a nice. I can't even say nice. Have a comfortable environment, a comfortable house, a comfortable roof over my head. So I think Dave Chappelle said something the other day, man, on his, I think Sticks and Stones, where it was like, I was poor enough to, I was rich enough to know I was poor or something like that.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. So it was like I always wanted more. I always wanted to be able to
It's
do
like
more
poor enough
for-
around the white kids, but rich enough around the black kids or something like that. Yeah.
So that's how I grew up. So I was like, when I was able to be able to provide in that opportunity, I always wanted to be able to provide more. And, the military gave me the background for that. And then once I started contracting, I was like, shit, now I'm able to actually, see these checks and get this money like I wanted to. And, my dumb ass came and spent it with you. But, that's where we're at, man. It was, it's all an experience. It's all a beautiful thing, and I'm thankful for the journey that I've had and the people I've met, and the people that aren't here anymore, man. It's all part of who I am.
Yeah. So when you started doing the contract stuff, though, like, you used to tell me like you were doing mainly you were training, right? You were
Right.
training different soldiers of those areas.
Right.
To to hopefully uphold something that y'all were that the government was trying to create there,
Right.
basically. How was that, like getting the language barrier, the
So
purpose barrier?
When I first started, I was training the ABP, Afghan Border Police, and when you think about the ABP, they're all 19 to 25-year-old Afghan men with the education of, I don't even know what grade to give. I'm going to say second graders just because, like I said, I don't know what a second grader is supposed to know, man. But like the difference gap in education and what they should know and what they don't know, it was, man, it's like I feel like I could train a dog faster than I could a Afghan border policeman who was supposed to be securing their borders and leading their country. So it was like, and that's the same problem that they're running into these days, and people wonder why. Why haven't we left Iraq? Why haven't we left Afghanistan? Why haven't we done this and that? We mean well. We would love to, but it's like, man, you start something with one group and expect them to be able to pick it up, and they just don't. So you're like,
Yeah.
okay, the next group will be able to get it, and then the next group.
Well,
isn't
because it
able
has
to
to
get
become
it.
a generational thing. Like if you start educating them in some form or fashion, then maybe it becomes part of their culture. And like we were just said at the beginning, Afghanistan was what it was like.
Yeah, we had 20 years, man. That's the crazy part. 2001, we invaded Afghanistan. We're at 20 years now. It's 2020.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. Like, to think how long we've been there, but you know, you got 90% of the population that doesn't want us there, and you got the 10% in the big cities. You got Kabul, you got Kandahar, you got Herat, Mazar Sharif. You got a couple cities that are actually, civilized, that actually want democracy, and the rest of them, they just want to sell poppy.
Yeah.
They just want to make money. They want to support the family. So it's hard convincing a group of people that don't know what they want.
Well, then that goes back to like the simplest thing. Like the inner city has more perspective of culture and other things, and they want to provide more. Mm-hmm. The hunter and gatherers out there doing the simplistic of living, they don't have the perspective of what else could be.
Absolutely.
And
they don't care. They just want to be able to. They want to be able to look at YouTube on their iPhone 11, which is crazy. People don't have a pot to piss in, but got a brand new iPhone, which is or a new Android, which is wild to me. But it's crazy, man. Just perspective is all backwards, man. Like, it's
how the fuck do they have service out there?
Dude, and Wi-Fi. It's so wild, man. Like, we used to do. So anybody coming onto base, we used to have to take their phones, take their wallets, take anything they could give up coordinates. And so we used to take the cell phones, man. And like, I remember in 2008, when I first saw the contract, I thought I was hot with a brand new iPhone. I think I had an iPhone 3S joint.
It probably was the first one.
No, it was a 3. I'm pretty sure it was a 3 because I was on Skype, and then I had one of my pilots had an iPhone, and I'm holding my laptop outside the tent, and he's on an iPhone. He was like, "Yo, you need to get you one of these." So I think it was a 3. It was a 3GS, and then we go to the checkpoint, and the Afghan dude got like a Samsung 9 or something crazy.
Yeah.
Better than all of our phones. And I'm like, yo, you don't even have a house. Why do you have this phone?
He was making Tinder.
And, and that's just where their priority lies, man. It's in things, not in
way of life.
In the way of life, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a strange, like I said, for me, like, I'm actually on this weird kick where I'm hoping that some of my 40s I can spend doing motorcycle travel through countries.
Right.
Like, probably not Middle East, but, like maybe go through India, things like that, go hit those, those kind of places and shit like that.
Right.
And I had another guy that does a podcast that helped me start this, Danger Dan. He just did a Nepal all the way up, flew in, rented bikes with a whole group, and they rode bikes through all these fucking mountain towns in the Himalayas and shit. And I just like, that's amazing to me, doing stuff like that. But
just dangerous out there now, bro.
So what about Africa? Like, you've been in Africa for quite a while. Like, what's
so I'm in the Horn of Africa. Like, Central Africa is crazy.
It's still like a fucking Congo militia.
Yeah, Central Africa is still a warlord's playground. Like, you get towards the outskirts, where like they have ports, and you got China, you got the U.S., you got France, you got a lot of big governments trying to get their foothold on the ports. Mm-hmm. But like Central Africa is still where it's raw, so it's still not safe, man. Like when you was talking about that, taking your bike through the world. I ain't really feeling that. You know what I mean? I don't feel like, trying to retask a drone to come and find you, because it's not good out there.
Yeah.
But
and what's the military presence there for?
So we do a lot of training. I know for the U.S. and AFRICOM, we do a whole lot of training, man. And a lot of people get on these, we're there for the oil and the minerals. Like, as a person that's on the ground, we are literally there trying to train them in order to stop terrorist groups like Boko Haram, or all these other groups, ISIS, all these other crazy groups from getting there and getting the stronghold. So we want to be able to train their local forces to be able to stop these terrorist groups from getting a
Infiltrating,
foothold
yeah.
in their area, so that we don't have to come in. If they can defend their own land, then we don't have to come in and clean them up. But a lot of the times, they allow these groups to come in, like Boko Haram. If a lot of people don't know about Boko Haram, they're the ones that stole, I want to say it's 200 girls back about 2 or 3 years ago, and kidnapped them and basically sold them off to be sex slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to stop that from ever happening. So we go in there, we provide training, we provide funding, we basically get them the stuff that they need in order to support their own people.
It's kind of one of those things, like listening to this and thinking about like America, like would we be more evil if we didn't like try to help bring the rest of the world up to modern times?
That's the
Versus
thing.
if we just if we completely pulled back and let that just be fucking like anarchy, Armageddon everywhere,
Right.
and we just focused on this, then that would not necessarily look good on us either. We would be like the elitists, you know.
You damned if you do, you damned if you don't.
Right.
That's the problem. Like, I've seen it from both perspectives, man. Like in Iraq, I've heard people say, "Hey, America, go home," and I've also heard, "Man, we're thankful you're here. We couldn't do anything before you guys got here."
Yeah.
Like it just depends on the upbringing and on the perspective, man. But for the most part, I feel like we've done more good than we have bad.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, talking about this type of stuff and it's very hard to say anything because this is the kind of thing in our culture as Americans where we want to all be in tie. We want to understand government. We want to understand policies and understand why we're here and there, but we're also trying to understand based on the facts that are given to us through the channels of media, which we all know now to be very biased depending on where you watch it.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's kind of fortunately, it's weird, right? So like the world's more open, but somehow now you can't trust it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm always going to feel like we should be doing more here in the States. Like, it's no reason, excuse me, that we should be giving billions to, Turkmenistan, and then you got cities in Dallas that, we can't even, they got housing falling apart. Like, the U.S. is always home. It's always going to be where I feel like we should be spending more money at. But at the same time, I'm like, we're the beacon for freedom. Like we're the light for how the world should be. So where do you draw that line?
Yeah. So, and nobody's trying to aid us, right?
Exactly. That's the hard part.
I remember you hit me up when the Trump tax thing took place with China, and you're like, hey, because I was going to sell that pistol I had, keep that pistol.
Yeah, you need to hold on to that.
You're going to have to take it to go get milk one day.
Yeah, buy more guns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 2A is real.
Yeah. I got to go piss real quick and we'll start. Hold on.
Me too.
So, like we were just talking about before, you were talking about how like this recent attack that we did to the guy you just sent me a picture of all ago was crazy.
Right.
How do you think it, like, how does that work out, right? So, Trump does the deal, we blow this dude up, they fuck with us, and now everybody hates it for it. Or
right.
how do you look at that? I
mean, being on the other side of the fence and actually involved in the community that is, carrying out these attacks, it's all a lead up, man. And like well, I can't say I've always felt like he has exercised a lot of restraint in carrying out these attacks, but this last attack was pretty I don't know, it's pretty gangster, dog. Like that was a real deal. Like having been at that airport several times and knowing exactly where he hit him, like that was meant to send a message. So, on one hand, I'm like, damn, he could have waited, but at the same time, it's like a lot of choices are made to deflect from other choices being made in the future. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's a message, man. And in my humble opinion, I feel like it's gonna get dirty. You know, they're gonna kill a few. We're gonna kill a few, and then we'll all come to the table. But it needed to happen, man. Like, he sat on his hands for a while.
So Iran has always been kind of a huge possible threat. Correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've always heard the nuclear shit everywhere talking
Right.
that, but it's almost like they've been poking, and so is this.
Oh, they've been poking the bear for a while, man.
Yeah.
After that, honestly, after they blew up the oil field in Iran with the drones, I thought I thought that was gonna get it popping, but he sat on his hands and didn't let anything happen. But after considering that, prior to me taking this last contract, that I actually had to travel through Baghdad International Airport buyout where they attacked the embassy.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, like, at some point you gotta say, like, hey, hey, y'all gonna quit poking the fucking bear. This is what we do. Like, that's like I said earlier, we may not be good at science or math, but fighting is our shit. That's what we do. So, that's where we're at now. And he flexed his muscle. He didn't let that guy probably, his ears probably hadn't fucking popped and he was dead.
Mm.
So
yeah, that picture you showed me was fucking ridiculous.
He's letting him know, like, look, this is really what y'all want to do. We here for it. That's what we do. So I mean, it's just it is what it is.
Well, what realistically role has the contract companies played in military in a nutshell over the course of these years? Like,
I mean, so I'm gonna be 100 with you, man. Like, all right, so I'm gonna give you this example. My first deployment to Djibouti, Africa, Horn of Africa, which is right next to Somalia. You had two Air Force UH-60 Pavehawks, which are Black Hawks, two helicopters. They had 219 men supporting those two helicopters as an Air Force flight. I'm not Air Force. I don't know what they call it, but the Air Force personnel there, it was almost 220 people supporting two planes.
mm-hmm.
As a contractor, we had 10 planes there flying. Every 2 hours we had a plane taking off and touching down. So basically flying 24/7, and we only had 30 people there.
Mm-hmm.
So contractors are a lot cheaper and they're a lot more effective.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we're getting paid a little bit of money, but we don't get the insurance, we don't get the the SGLI, we don't get a lot of the benefits that the military members get, but they're paying us on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, contractors make a little money, but we're actually doing a lot more work than the military has to do.
Do you have the same like restraints, or are y'all a little bit different?
As far as what?
As far as like, I mean, this is the myths, right? Like you guys, our military can't come in there and do this, but then as a contractor, then you can go do the dirty work that we're not diplomatically allowed to.
It depends. Like, I've been on the aviation side for some time now, but as a contractor, like I got some Blackwater guys that are still dealing with litigation over what happened in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So as far as the coverage, I don't think we do get the same coverage, but we're allowed to operate under different procedures as say the military. The military couldn't be as effective or as efficient as us because of their checklist. So as a contractor, we could work 24 hours if we got coverage. As a military member, they got to take breaks. So it's just the rules and the regulations in place that as a civilian allows us to operate differently.
But it also seems like a progression from like, so you can literally join the military at 18,
Right.
which, you know, being 37 now and thinking about who I was at 18, like I definitely didn't need a gun in my hand, maybe, but maybe at the same time it would have changed. It definitely would have changed the course of my life much differently if I navigated through that, survived, and came through with it. But it's almost like if you can go through that freshman, sophomore year of being in the military, then and you can show competence maybe, or just whatever, then the contract becomes a viable place to go.
Contracting is there, man. Like I tell people all the time, man. Like I'm still, you know, I got some partners that are still active duty that I'm like, yo, whenever you're ready to get out, let me know. I got a job for you. But the contract world is a very small community. Despite how big it may seem, like a lot of
the motorcycle industry.
Exactly. A lot of people that have been in the contracting game have been in the contracting game for years. So a lot of the program managers and the project managers that are now running programs have been there for years. So like it's been a couple resumes that have come across my desk and I'm like, yo, I ain't really fool with him back in the day. So nah, he did this, he did that. So I can't really deal with him. But it's also been guys that I haven't really worked with a long time, but I worked with them long enough to know that they're solid dudes, and I've got them jobs. Even if it's not on my contract, I send their resume to the people that are hiring.
Yeah.
So it's a small community, just like the motorcycle community, you know, especially with like what you do. You do a bad job for somebody, or you know you charge somebody too much or whatever. Word gets out. It's the same in the contract community, or the military community itself. It's been a lot of guys that, like I'm on the aviation side, I'm on the ISR side, and it's been a lot of guys that have had outstanding careers, but they were a dickhead to somebody on the military side, and the person that they were a dickhead to are now, you know, project managers or program managers on the contracting side, so they can't get a job.
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing for the motorcycle industry.
essence, be careful who you fuck over.
Yeah.
Period. So do as to others as you want done unto yourself.
The thing about when you're young, like when I was in my 20s, I would say that I didn't really realize how long life is, in a sense, to where like, okay, you maybe not were the best employee at this place, and next thing you know, it's still the same industry, and then 20 years later, you're like, fuck, now that kid that started here that I thought I was better and I was treating like shit, now he runs this place, and my deal didn't work out over here, now I'm fucking asking this dude for a job, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You'd be surprised how many people you run into in the future, man.
So the other thing that's like, I feel like is blown up over the last years is just as much as firearms has become like the hot topic of the country, it also seems like the hot topic of training.
Yes, sir.
You know, I don't know if it was John Wick's fault with this fucking just seeing the training videos of people doing the courses. Like, what do you think about all that? And we've already talked about it. I'm just trying to bring it up because I know that's where you want to push into that with your career after you leave contracting.
Right.
So what do you think?
I mean, you know, the Second Amendment was something that was placed. It wasn't even placed there for me. Like, if you get, you know, I'm a brother, so if you get, you know, to the bare knuckles of it, the Second Amendment was placed there for the average citizen to be able to defend. I wasn't an average citizen when the amendments were written. I am now, you know, but my thing is, man, it's like we are given the right to bear arms. And as an American citizen and having the ability to be able to purchase firearms and own firearms and able to learn and train with firearms, you should be proficient in the tools that you have. Just like you're an airbrush artist, you're a painter, you're an artist in general. If you have a tool that you're allowed to have that you don't know how to use, it's worthless to you. Mm-hmm. So for every American, you know, even if you don't using on a daily basis. Like, you know me, I've been trying to get you to get out there and shoot with me forever. But even just having a firearm is a deterrent to those that wish to do you and your family harm. But it's fun. For me, it's a stress reliever. You know, just like jumping on that sled and getting into the wind. For me, being able to go crack a couple rounds or training people in order to, you know, defend their house, defend their car, defend themselves, it's refreshing in knowing that I have possibly helped that person survive, continue on their legacy, continue on their lifestyle, and continue providing for their family.
It's kind of awesome seeing like the progression of this. How, you know, you hear people talking about gun control, but then you see like this church shooting and how it got snuffed out. Thank goodness for live streaming, right? Because that shit was awesome. There's no argument to that, you know. As far as, you know, the way I see it, I'm not a very political person due to the fact I actually, this is from you, right? You remember when I was young? Remember me? I hated Christianity, all that shit.
Big time.
I'm not into that stuff, right? Okay. But you as my business partner back then, you're like, hey, these motherfuckers want bikes and paint jobs. They don't care about your opinions on, you know, Christianity's, you know, truth or not, right?
Yes.
And so like it put perspective into me to where I was like, all right, so my ideas on things that don't pertain to what I do for a living,
right?
Like I need to understand where those are.
Yeah, you gotta be open minded.
Yeah, but. And not that I'm ever going to be someone that I don't like to say cares, because I do care heavily, but I also care in a sense like I like the way I like to put Trump is I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I just know that he's there, and in the bike club world, you know, if I voted not to get this guy and everybody else voted to him, but I'm still a part of this team, and you know what, I got to do this. Absolutely. We have to go through with it, and then. You know, it's just a mess. But the like with gun control and all these things that are going on, it's just kind of funny watching it get.
Stop it though. That's the problem, man. Like I try to explain to people all the time. You, even if they were to implement gun control measures now, it's too late. Like you're not gonna go door to door and take people guns. So that's irrelevant. Like that's a null point. So the worst they could do is make owning a gun is legal, which is just going to be like prohibition.
Yeah.
Drinking alcohol was illegal. It was still a bunch of drunk motherfuckers running around the South and the North.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But with the guns, you know, I'm not no conspiracy theorist or think, you know, anything's supposed to happen that's not. But the Second Amendment is a checks and balance of our United States of America, dog. And like, regardless of how you feel about it, regardless if you want to own firearms or not, the millions of people that do own firearms are keeping the government in check. Yeah, they got nukes and all this other, you know, other stuff. Yeah, okay. But you going door to door is a problem. You're not going to be able to do that. After the first person, it's over with. You might get one or two. After that, regardless if you kill the cell phones or whatever, people are gonna know. So, you know, while I got, you know, Jay's platform and, you know, the Fast Life Garage platform going on, get trained, man. Get you a gun, get trained, learn how to operate, protect your family. It's fun. It's a beautiful thing, man. Like, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I just got back from the country. I took a couple brothers out to the woods. We did some real life training, you know, ran a couple drills, showed some real life stuff. It's fun, man. Like knowing that you have a tool that puts you at the advantage of anybody that wishes to do your family harm is a beautiful thing. So, you know, just like having a fast bike, you line up on the line, or, you know, you go to a motorcycle contest and nobody's seen your bike yet, you know, you got the freshest paint or the loudest bike and nobody's heard us yet, you feel a little more confidence. The same with this gun culture. If you know what you're doing, you know, you got the tools to protect you and your family, it puts you at an advantage, man. And I'm always gonna be an advocate for people to learn, how to use the tools to protect their family and to be safe.
There's also that thing like, like certain people, it's kind of like that concept with cops, right? Mm-hmm. People that never had power, they have power. And sometimes you get that vibe when you have a gun. Especially if you, and I would associate this with training, right?
Right.
Anybody that's actually trained with a gun, I don't think that they carry themselves in the same way of some guy that just got a gun that's like on edge,
right?
Because I think that's kind of one of the things. Like, I remember, I'm not a road rage maniac kind of person, but there's been times I've had to take the gun that I have from point A to point B, and I just think man, I got a gun in here. You know what I mean? Right. Almost like the gun's telling me I have to do something or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not. I know it's not the case, but it's just like it's also like how we always thought weed was the worst thing in the world for us growing up because it was beaten into us as children. Right. And I think that's what they're trying to, or what the society's kind of been doing with guns.
Absolutely.
It's so, obviously it needs to be respected. So there's one aspect where, you want everybody to respect the power of what a gun can do, but you also want to understand that there's a power of what it represents. Right. And that's kind of the blurred lines.
I mean, the problem is a gun. I've had my gun sitting on this table in your studio for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
Hasn't hurt anybody. It's there doing its own thing. He's chilling, looking sexy. Gun's not going to hurt us.
You got that Battleship Gray going on over there. Looking good.
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, the problem is, man, it's the people. It's people.
I think it's education, man.
Education, absolutely. Yeah. Education, the biggest thing. Not knowing, what they possess, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it. That's the problem. That's the biggest problem. If people were to get out there and get trained, get some understanding of what they possess, what they can do, what they can own, what they can't own. I think a lot of the hesitation or the amount of people being scared of firearms will not be the same. It's just a lot of misinformation provided by the media, as always, that tells people that, firearm ownership is a danger. Guns don't kill people, man. I know it's a cliche. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. But like I said, my gun's been sitting there on the table, fully loaded, hasn't bothered nobody. And it will continue to sit there until somebody puts himself in its way and decides to cause harm or take it to it, back home or whatever.
Yeah.
Guns aren't the problem. It's people. So get trained, man. I like I said, I'm an advocate of everybody. I've been trying to get you forever to get out there and
that gun I got, I still never shot it.
Yeah.
Had it for almost 4 years now.
And that's a shame. But we got to change that, man, ASAP. I feel terrible hearing you say
there's
that.
Also, there's this aspect of guns that, I look at it now, too, because I have a couple friends I have a good friend that actually military works at a place out there in Rockwall that they do all the engraving, like the laser engraving, but they also they make, night vision, all kinds of shit, right? Mm-hmm. They, test out fucking major guns out there and stuff. I know that, I like to own nice shit, right? Or I want to try to do, if I'm going to get something, then I get into that gun. I'm like, all right, what's this one? Oh, what's that one? What's the next thing you know, I got my own gun customization thing going on over here. You know what I'm saying? That's how I am. Right. I don't know how to just enjoy the product. I want to put my touch on the product. You know what I'm saying?
That's just because you're an artist. That's all.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I've been wanting to take Britta to shoot though, man. I wish I would feel, even if I don't carry my gun because I don't have a license to, but I would feel better if she did, just for the sake of it's my wife.
It's a peace of mind thing. Even with me, I'm gone, 60 to 90% of the year. But I know my household, anybody comes into my household, they in for a rude awakening. Yeah. It's going to be whether you believe or not, it's going to be the hand of God when you open that door if you make it out a lot. And that's just because of how I live, man. People people aren't dangerous or bad people until they are. But when they are, you need to be able to rectify that situation and protect home. And you know, just like I said, man, going back to the motorcycle industry, if you don't take care of your bike and make sure your bike's able to stop when it's supposed to, able to start when it's supposed to, when it comes time for you to have to hit them brakes, you might not be able to. It's just like your home. Being able to defend your home, regardless if it's a shotgun, an AR, or AK, or a pistol, you know, you gotta be able to be ready for those type of situations, man. And that's the biggest thing I've been trying to preach to you is, you know, regardless of whether you like them or not, there's bad people out there, just like there's bad people on the road, man. You got to be able to think ahead of other people and be prepared.
The other thing that from an outsider looking into the gun world is like being like, because you have your tactical more training and operation stuff, right?
Right.
And then you have your scope type shooting, which what would that be called? Like range, long range shooting.
Yeah.
So it's like and I have friends that do both, right? And I could see that it's a different scene,
different culture.
Yeah. And some of these dudes, you know, they're setting up. They got fucking lazy boys, scoping it in and doing this and pressing on bullets and shit. And then you got, you know, like what you guys are into and stuff. It seems is like more of understanding each type of gun and being able to use it on a go kind of thing.
Right.
So,
I mean, to me, it's more of a being able to defend your house.
Yeah.
Whatever you decide defending your house is with. Like you got, you know, YouTube guys that'll say a pistol is best, you know, a suppressed AR is best, a shotgun is best. As you know, when I teach women, I prefer that they use a shotgun best just because of
the spread.
Not even the spread, man. The psychological impact of hearing that round chamber.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, the bad guy is gonna think twice. But you know, you get that one guy that's gonna be like, you know what, I don't believe you, and you're gonna have to show them. But you know, I keep an AR by my belt. I keep my AR and the pistol that you're looking at now. But you know, if I got to pick up something, I'm picking up the AR. Or my old lady's gonna pick up the AR just because it's easier to control and manipulate. Like you can fire 30 rounds out of an AR and not think twice. When a pistol, you got to actually focus on fundamentals. So I'm not comfortable enough with my old lady using the pistol than I am with the AR. With the AR, I know that if I have my sight dialed in, as long as she puts that dot on the target, she's going to hit. Mm-hmm. So it's a difference. But it all comes back to training, man. It comes back to, you know, getting out there and using the tools that you have. Just like with you. If you don't use a new you know, a paint gun, you're not gonna put down the paint that you know that you can. So it's the same thing, man. Just you know, just a different world, different lifestyle, man. But it just means more. You put down a bad paint job, you might have to do it again. You don't put down a good, you know, shot placement, you might not wake up tomorrow.
Exactly. So. Well, there's also this like what I was saying earlier, is like there's this disconnect between the thought that we haven't really faced any real dangers because we've always lived in this comfort of America, right?
Absolutely.
And now with you know, just the way it is, it does kind of like, the other thing is like when you think about history in itself, like nothing lasts forever. Mm-hmm. No regimes, no governments, no ideologies. It all grows and it has to adapt to the growth of knowledge and humanity, right?
Absolutely.
And so at some point, like what we've been building here, even though there are fundamental truths that still hold true to this day, like our Constitution,
right?
There's so many things that we still have to live within now that don't apply to us, that is some shit from the 50s.
Absolutely.
That it's almost like because it has been implemented doesn't mean it's going to be there forever. So I feel like there's a real strange awakening that has to happen at some point within the next 50 years, because there's no way we can evolve with the available technology and how rapid it's changing versus our structure system that was created with some pretty good creation points.
Good basis,
yeah. But it has, it's like you said earlier about like, hopefully in 2 more generations, racism will be a thing that we heard about or that was part of another lifetime.
Yeah, it's gonna be a niche.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion, man. Like 2 more years, 20 years, 2 more generations, man. Once we're gone and our kids are gone, I don't foresee racism being something that's mainstream.
Also, I think that people will have blended in so much that there'll be.
It's no choice.
Yeah, it's. I mean, fuck. Your chick is.
Yeah, Puerto Rican.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just different. And so I think that our race of people is going to be completely different in the next 2 or 3 generations.
Melting pot. Yeah, ain't gonna be no superiority.
Yeah.
So which is a good thing, man. Like we're Americans. That's what it is. It's just.
You made a good point earlier when you were talking about like because you want to start your own gun range training thing.
Absolutely.
About how like, because you felt like when you go to buy a gun locally, you feel super judged, super,
big time.
What's the word? Fucking
big time. Not even knowing that I probably have more training than everybody in their fucking building. But the point is that they're too judgmental. Like so that's. At the end game, I want to have that range where everybody is welcome, and if you want to learn about firearms, you can. Like even me, as I've been dealing with firearms and tactical training the last 10 years, but I go into a gun store now and they treat me as if like I'm in a little baby video or something. I want a Chopper or a Draco or some bullshit. I'm like,
I heard about these in a rap video. Can you point me in the right direction?
Can you teach me to the one that Little Baby was rapping about? Nah, bro. Like I know I've used these weapons. I want one, but you don't get that kind of treatment, man. So like I said, the end game, I want to open that range where everybody. You want a firearm, you come get your firearm, man. Like you learn. You can come run it. You come get on the range. You can learn exactly what's needed to protect you and your family, man. And that's the problem. Like so much judgment in the Second Amendment community that I can't even say minorities. Anybody that's not.
It doesn't, like you said, straight edge because
fit into the
social norm.
Yeah, the social norm of who's supposed to own firearms are treated like an outcast or outcast, and that's not what it's supposed to be. That Second Amendment was made for a reason, and even if it wasn't for the reason they saw for today, it's still that same reason.
It almost seems more so for what is happening today, like where you want to be able to keep your government in check.
Absolutely.
Because obviously our government has not been kept in check by us, and we're still kind of blindly being sheep.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, dude, like the whole Jeffrey Einstein shit, and it's so crazy because it's so much a part of our culture.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, but I just like, and I'm guilty as anybody else in this world. Like my life is custom paint jobs and motorcycles in the industry, and this dude made this part, it's rad, this one made that. And so like I'm so wrapped up into my world that when you just like dip your toe into the shit that's going on in the world, it's almost like, you know what?
It's a whole lot.
I don't want to fuck with it. I'm gonna go back over here where I kind of have an understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna try to help dictate this over here and push it somewhere, as opposed to getting involved in a world full of opinions.
Absolutely.
Where it's everything. Everybody, dude, fuck.
Yeah, there's so much going on, man. It's crazy.
It's so crazy. It's when I was in when I was in Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. Jerry Covington, OG in the game, and huge Republican, right? And rightfully so in his business practices, and everything he told me about why he was and how he needed it, I don't blame him.
Right.
But also, we're in a town 140 miles away from the nearest major city. The lifestyle of that town and what this dude's providing for people and jobs and stuff is a much different world than someone that's, you know, in an inner city trying to provide jobs for people that are not realistically trying to make a career out of that job.
No, I'm with you.
So it's like everything is it's so disconnected is what I get at. So like I can literally have a conversation with someone that is a Democrat,
Right.
but in a place in a Democratic where their Democratic ideas make so much perfect sense that I can't disagree with it.
Right.
But then I can go sit down with this guy, Jerry Covington, who employs 20-something people and is sitting there complaining about if I didn't have to pay all this extra regulations, I could hire 4 more people.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, well, I get that. So there's what I wish is it like this whole separatist party system that's basing their separations on things that we've evolved past.
But you know what? That's the beauty of our country, though, dog.
We have the choice.
Everybody else doesn't have that choice. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty in the ugliness of our country is that we have to deal with choices. Everybody else doesn't have those choices. So people,
it's taking advantage of, like you just said, it's like because we've grown up with the choices that we don't understand how beautiful it is to have one.
Absolutely. We don't know any different until it's taken away.
Yeah.
So
that's the crazy, that's a reality that I'm not.
But it can be.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where the Second Amendment comes into play. Second Amendment protects that. So that's the scary part. That's the scary part, and the beautiful part about it is a lot of younger generations are so quick to say we don't need guns, and they don't understand the role that guns play in our lives. So that's.
How do you think about this? Is a theory that I've had. So, video games.
Right.
See that drone over there?
I see it.
Like all these things has become available to us, kids, adults, whatever. Does it not feel like training? Because I mean, eventually, I feel like all like warfare is going to go to like that kind of drone based.
It does,
operator based,
and it doesn't. Like I'm impartial to that just because I know what bullets sound like going past your head. There's nothing that can prepare you to somebody that values death over life.
Yeah.
As an American, we're always going to value life over death. Some of the enemies that, you know, young men and older men are fighting today value death more than they do life.
And it's more, is that based on their...
You can't train for that in video games.
True. I'm just wondering because, like, if drones were becoming the main source of fighting...
Right. Drones are definitely a bigger part of it, and which to me is a beautiful thing, man, is taking, you know, the human element for our risk out of it. You know, that's what I do now. I've showed you videos, but that is kind of the desensitization of this generation is that they're seeing people die.
So since you've been in active war zone situations versus someone that hasn't, that starts flying a drone and doing,
they don't know,
they don't value life the same way.
They don't know what it feels like to see somebody's life end.
Yeah.
You know, seeing somebody take that last beat of breath is different. Like experiencing that and seeing somebody disappear in a puff of smoke is not the same. Like Call of Duty, all these games kind of give you a false realism of what war is like.
Or what death is.
What death is. And I think that's a problem with the younger generation. They don't value life because they think they can respawn like in Fortnite, all these other games. You know, when you see somebody that you spent the last 2 years with, eating, sleeping, shitting, seeing them talk to their old lady, see them talk to their kids, and then seeing them take their last breath and not coming back to the base with you,
Yeah.
it changes you as an individual, number one. It changes your perspective on life. And I think a lot of people have a false interpretation of what life is. I can't blame it on video games, but I think video games being able to, I just got hit by a drone strike. Okay, let me wait 2 minutes, and now I'm about to be alive again. You don't get a redo at life. Like that's it. So that first drone strike, you're done. Your game is over.
Everything.
With.
Yeah.
It's over with. That's it. You only get one shot at life, and that's what a lot of people. Well, I can't say a lot of people. I think that's what a lot of this younger generation is not seeing, is that ain't no respawn. You don't get no extra life. Once your life is over with, that's it. That's done. So I think that's the disconnect with this generation and the generation that has been fighting for the last 10 years.
Do you have an opinion about this? What do you think is
20 years.
What do you think is probably the number one reason, or just a controlling reason of why people like hear local terrorism, like fucking, mass shooters? Like, what do you think their reason is above all? Like, is it the fame that comes with it?
I think you know what, my and I'm probably wrong for this opinion, man. Having I can't say grown up, but having been in the Middle East for the last 10 years. My thing is, man, is the media life that comes with these mass killings or mass terrorist episodes, though. Like Saudi, you rape somebody, you kill somebody, they cut your fucking head off in the middle of the street, and that's it. The first or the next mass killer, like if I was ever president, the next mass killer, you kill somebody and more than 2 or 3 people, I'm going to take you out to the middle of the city, I'm going to chop your fucking head off, and nobody's going to talk about you ever again. These kids get too much publicity off of these mass shootings that they live. They go 2 years in trial, in court, and all this bullshit, man. Like, we give these people too much publicity that they're famed forever. No, let them disappear. Go cut their head off, kick that shit down the street, and you won't see about these kids. Just like the kid that tried to shoot up the federal building in Dallas. I think it was about a year ago.
I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, he tried that shit. The security guard shot his ass running across the street. Look it up. Yeah, dude, it was right after, damn, I don't remember. Can't think of the cat name, too much Ciroc. Shout out Ciroc Redberry. But the kid tried to storm a federal building. Security guard put like 12 shots in him. He died running across the parking lot. We heard nothing else about it. It didn't fit the agenda. He didn't kill nobody he meant to kill. A security guard popped his ass, providing protection for the building he was supposed to be protecting, and it got deaded. Yeah. That's what happened. That's what should happen with all these dumbasses that try to be, these martyrs or these heroes. Let them die. Give them the death that they want, and let them die. But no, we want to, take these little bitches to Burger King and put them on trial for 2 years and have them on CNN and Fox and CNBC and all these other media outlets for 2 years, and then that's what happens. They're immortalized. Yeah. Let them die.
It's crazy because, like, when you're talking about, like, something that's kind of been coming up that I've been having conversations with about people is, like, how quickly and easily it is to just feel like nothing in this world. Like, I've been fortunate because I've had friends growing up. I've had opportunities. I've been married twice. I've had so much like interaction with people growing up. I also didn't grow up in high school in a way that alienated me. I wasn't bullied. I mean, I was probably bullied if I was by today's standards, but it was just natural hazing, you know what I mean? Like the shit that the stories that I heard coming up in high school before I got to high school playing basketball was like these motherfuckers rip your clothes off and just have you out there butt ass naked in the gym, you know, trying to get in that's hazing. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
Nowadays, like I wasn't looking forward to those type of things happen. Unfortunately, it never happened to me, but it was part of the psyche going into basketball. Like, okay,
yeah, this might happen.
and the idea was that it happened and you became part of that clique or that team now.
Yeah, you family now.
Yeah, you went through that part. And there was some camaraderie based thing that took place in that situation of doing that that was scary but also rewarding at the end.
Right.
And now with hazing being something that's not allowed anymore, which I can't say that's a good or bad thing because I don't know.
Right.
Because I mean, it's one thing if you haze me and then the whole school sees my little dick and shit, and everybody laughs it off and we good time. But then it's funny. It's different if you get a picture of it in social media and then it's blasted for the rest of my life, and I have a nickname like.
Exactly.
So it's a different world now that we live in.
Absolutely.
But those trials like that, or those struggles that were huge anxiety things for us as kids that we had to figure out or navigate through, helped shape us and prepare us for real struggles in life, which is like I was telling you earlier, is like when I think about what depression is, for me, it's a place I don't want to be. So when I get there, I immediately am looking for an exit. I'm looking for a solution to the problem that's putting me in this place rather than like bedding down.
Right.
And waiting for everybody else to notice that I'm not in a place that's comforting. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I'm scared for my fucking daughter. I'm scared for my son. You know, and I don't know. I'm opposite with my daughter and my son. Right. I feel like my daughter's so strong that I'm like not as worried with her. Right. But my son, I just worry because I don't know. Like I worry because I want him to. I want him to have confidence growing up. You know what I mean? And I kind of had confidence, and it was because I don't know why. It was because I just had it. Maybe because I was okay enough at basketball that I got respect from so many people in my world that I was able to I had a reputation in high school as being a good basketball player as a white guy in a major black school. Right? So, like, I don't know. My son's homeschooled right now. He's going to have no confidence being around people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not really for the homeschooling thing, but, you know, not single dad, but
that co-parenting. That
co-parenting shit doesn't work out good these days. The thing that sucks is, like, his mom listens to podcasts, and I can tell when she's been listening to a, like, pro single mom podcast. I'm like, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit.
Listen to this one and say, fuck you. Yeah,
it's a mess, man. So,
yes, sir.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it'd be cool when you get out. Like it's kind of. I've never known you not to be gone for, you know.
I'm ready to be done, man. Like I'm ready to have, regular relationships and be at birthday parties and be at people's anniversaries and celebrate shit, man. I've been gone my whole life pretty much, man. So I'm ready to be the average Joe.
See, I really wonder. Like, it's a fascinating thing to me to wonder, like, how that adaptation would be. Because I was talking about this earlier, where every other responsibility I have in life, I'm really not that great at. I'm not the best dad in the world. I'm not the best husband. I mean, I don't do anything wrong, but I'm not the best husband. Like but I'm fucking good at being in this fucking shop, and everything I do in here, I'm pretty good at. And so. Like most of us in life, we tend to flock towards the things we feel the most confidence at and the most reward at. And so I wonder if, I'm not saying that you're a bad dad or a bad husband or whatever, but like with being gone so much and knowing that you do this and you kind of have that separation, like it could be it's almost like getting unplugged from the matrix and having to, fucking deal with everything.
I'm ready to see, man. You know what I mean? That's gonna be the next challenge in my life. So I'm ready to get there and find out how it goes, man. And try to be an average citizen and do my part. So we'll see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, like I said, it's weird because like you.
Shit, I've been gone as long as you know me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I used to keep your bike
Right.
in my house whenever
Absolutely.
you were gone. So,
Yes, sir.
the other thing that was super weird, because like the only time I ever went to Myrtle Beach Black Bike Week
Yeah.
was with you.
Right.
And I met, like, there's a party house full of contractors, basically.
That's life, dog.
But I thought it was cool that, like, you know, you guys created this like guild outside of the contracting over there here in the
Right.
States. And,
It's
you
a
know,
brotherhood, man.
yeah.
It's like the motorcycle community. You know, outside of the military, you got the contractor life and you got civilian life. So the contractor life is next to the military life. You know, we deal with a lot of the same situations, a lot of the same struggles. Just we getting paid a little bit more. So I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like a lot of, especially like actual defense military contractor, Blackwaters, the MPRI, the L3s, the man, I know I'm leaving a bunch out right now. I gotta think on. They're gonna be mad with me, but a lot of the guys providing private security, triple canopies. You know, a lot of the
You did
big
some work for
dogs.
Triple Canopy
Just
too.
a little bit, yeah. But a lot of the big dogs out there, man, it's the same like being in the military, man. We all we got.
So, and some of those contractings are still gunning and shit like that, or
Oh,
is it-
absolutely, yeah. A lot of them are still doing the, you know, the dirty work that the military can't get the spec ops community to do. It's not as important for them. So, you know, a lot of like the Blackwaters, Triple Canopies, the Dying Corps, the special tasking. They're doing a lot of the embassy security or the you know, the private security jobs that are moving important people to important places. So, you know, it's a lot of regular guys putting their lives on the line for people that don't care about them. Same as the military.
for sure?
Yep.
Yeah, and you were telling me like how like a lot of dudes used to like have a problem going into that world because they would make so much money,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
then
they can't leave.
They
man.
can't. They get stuck in it. You know.
build that $1 million lifestyle, man, and you know you can't go home and work for that 50,000. So you gotta, you know, I got guys still been over there 10, 11 years because they built this lifestyle based off, you know, 200,000 that they can't go home and work for 60, 70,000. So, you know, just live within your means, man, and you know, be humble.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Cool. We're wrapping this up.
Absolutely, been good, man. Appreciate
Thank you. I mean, I wanted to talk about a million things, but it's like,
Hey, on
The
ne-
Ciroc.
On the next time, dog. Yeah, the Ciroc.
well, cheers. Hey, thank you for everything you've done to
Hey,
me,
cheers,
sir.
brother. Salute.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. Be more. Hey, Instagram, you do that much?
Be
Yeah.
more Mr. International.
All right. There
Yes,
you go.
sir. Take it
All
easy.
right. I hope you guys really enjoyed that, and I hope you, you know, dug it. He's a great friend of mine. If you guys want to go check him out, Be More. I forgot his fucking Instagram name. I'm the worst. I'll tag him in the post on Instagram. Anyway, I want to thank all you guys for checking out this podcast. I want to thank Brandon for coming through and sharing some of his insight and his you know, history and doing what he does. So thank him. Thank all you guys out there in the military doing all the shit you guys do. I know it's a tough life to live in many different ways, and I'm grateful for it. So I also want to thank all you guys for supporting this podcast. You can check it out. All of our sponsors, SimpsonMotorcycleHelmets.com, TeamDreamRides.com, BigBearPerformance.com, PaintHuffer.com, ShopTmax.com, Lexan-Moto.com, FastLife12 for 15% off on that one, and BoostedBrad.com and FastLife for 5% off on that order. Check out all these badass sponsors we got. They really help keep this podcast going. Like I said, next podcast, we're dropping a Boosted Brad care package. Don't know what's going to be in that box. It's just going to get shipped to whoever wins from our Patreon list. So if you're interested, get on our Patreon. Donate $1, $5, $10, whatever you feel comfortable with, and you know, help support this podcast. And we're going to be back Thursday with our next podcast, which will be San Diego Customs. We're starting the California recent trip, all the podcasts we did. So looking forward to dropping that. I still got a bunch in the I got a bunch loaded right now to release, so it's going to be a really good month of February for you guys. So stay tuned, and thank you for supporting this podcast once again. Check out our sponsors. Check out Brandon. Peace. I'm done. I'm out.